So let me bring you back to that hallway, the hospital. The white walls, the sharp chemical smell, the sound of my own heartbeat louder than anything. My daughter, Mara, 8 years old, is running toward my mother with her arms wide open, her little sneakers squeaking on the linoleum. And my mother is kneeling down to catch her, crying, squeezing her tight. And I am standing 6 feet away, completely frozen, holding a reason I haven't been able to put down since. Let me tell you what I found out. 3 weeks before this moment, Mara's father, my ex-husband David, had filed an emergency motion in family court. A motion to relocate Mara overseas, to Germany, where his company was transferring him, without my consent, without discussion. I didn't even know about it yet when Mara disappeared. The paperwork was sitting in a courthouse queue, and my mother, somehow, knew it was coming. Because David had called her first. He had called my mother, the woman who watched him break my heart, who sat with me through the divorce, who told me I was strong enough to rebuild. He called her and told her he was taking Mara. Not asking, telling. And that if my mother didn't help him, he was going to use some letters. Old letters that my mother had written during the worst year of my life. Years before Mara was even born. Letters that, in the wrong hands, in a courtroom, could have painted her as unstable. As someone who once, during a breakdown, wrote things she never meant. He was going to weaponize her past to take my daughter's future. So she panicked. My 71-year-old mother panicked, and she made the worst possible decision. She called Mara herself. She told Mara they were going on a secret adventure. Mara, who is 8 and trusts her grandmother with her whole heart, said yes without hesitation. And my mother drove her 2 hours into the mountains and waited. For what, exactly, she couldn't fully articulate, even when I asked her later. She said she was trying to buy time. She said she thought she could figure it out. She said she was terrified of losing Mara too, and that terror made her do something she knew was wrong before she even finished doing it. She told me all of this in a small family consultation room off the hallway while a nurse sat with Mara and let her eat graham crackers and watch cartoons. I didn't speak for a long time after she finished.
You have to understand. I wasn't angry in the way I expected to be angry. I had spent 3 weeks building a fury so enormous I thought it might swallow me whole. I had imagined screaming. I had imagined saying things I could never take back. But sitting across from my mother, watching her hands shake in her lap, watching her try to hold herself together, the fury just thinned. It didn't disappear. It transformed into something heavier and quieter and honestly much harder to carry. Because she was scared. And because she was wrong. And both of those things were true at exactly the same time. I finally said, "Mom, why didn't you just tell me?" And she looked at me and said, "Because I didn't know how to protect you and Mara both without falling apart myself. And I was ashamed of those letters. And I thought if you knew about them, you'd think less of me." I thought about that for a very long time. Here's the part they don't show you in movies about family crisis. The part where the villain isn't a villain and the hero doesn't feel like one either. The part where you're sitting in a beige room under fluorescent lighting and you realize that the person who hurt you most is also a person who was hurting in ways you completely missed. I missed it. For years, I thought my mother was solid bedrock. I never asked her what she was carrying. I never wondered what it cost her to be strong for me during the divorce, during the custody battles, during all of it. She absorbed everything and showed me nothing. And I let her do it because it was easier. That doesn't excuse what she did. I want to be very clear about that. What she did caused me a specific, indescribable kind of suffering that I would not wish on anyone. 21 days. Do you know what 21 days of not knowing feels like? It lives in your body. It rewires something. I still wake up some nights and reach for my phone before I'm fully conscious. So no, I'm not here to tell you I forgave her immediately and everything was bathed in golden light. What I did was, I stood up. I walked to the door. I stopped with my hand on the frame. And I said, "You are going to call a lawyer today, Mom. And you're going to tell them everything David said to you. Every word. Because we are going to deal with this the right way. And we are going to do it together." And then I went and got my daughter. I held Mara for, I don't even know how long. Long enough that she started squirming and said, "Mom, you're squishing me." And I loosened my grip and looked at her face and said, "I know, baby. I know." David never got to Germany with my daughter. The extortion, and that is the legal word that eventually got used, unraveled quickly once it was documented. The family court looked very differently at his relocation petition after that. Very differently indeed. My mother faced consequences.
Not criminal ones, ultimately, though it came close, and there were weeks where that outcome was not at all certain. But real consequences. Court-ordered family counseling. A supervised period with Mara. A lot of very hard conversations that none of us got to skip or soften. And she showed up for every single one. That's the thing about my mother that I keep coming back to. The woman made a catastrophic choice out of fear and shame and a desperate need to protect the people she loved. And then, when the time came to face what she'd done, she didn't run. She didn't make excuses. She sat in those rooms, and she told the truth, even when the truth was humiliating. I don't know what to call what's between us now. It's not the same as before. Some things, once broken, don't go back to their original shape. They heal into something different. A little stronger in some places, a little more brittle in others, marked in a way you can see if you look closely. But she's my mother, and Mara loves her. And I have decided, with full knowledge of what that decision costs me on the hard days, that love is not something I'm willing to amputate just because it came with wounds. What I know now that I didn't know before all of this. The people closest to us are carrying things we haven't asked about. And sometimes, when the pressure gets high enough, those hidden things surface in ways that blow everything open. Ask the people you love what they're carrying, before it becomes a crisis, before someone panics, before the phone call in the middle of the night. Ask them, before you need to. That's the whole story. That's all of it. And Mara is asleep in the next room right now, and I am going to go check on her, like I do every night, like I always will.